Hello, Blackhawks Nation. Welcome to the Blackhawks Daily, your favorite recap of the daily buzz around your Chicago Blackhawks. I'm your host, PJ. Thank you for joining us, and of all of us, in this uplifting and supporting of the Hawks as they head into their centennial season. Lots to cover with our usual top four topics of the day, so let's dive in, have a look around Blackhawks world, shall we? So, first up, let's talk about one of the quietly significant pieces in this rebuild, a name we've mentioned many times, but we haven't gone deep on this person, but we are today. Nolan Allen. He's not the flashiest name, but how he progresses this season will tell us a lot about the Blackhawks' defensive depth and their development. So, quick recap who Nolan Allen is. He's drafted 32nd overall in 2021 by Chicago, obviously. Left-handed defenseman, 6'2", 195 pounds. Good size for a D-man who leans toward the stay-at-home side of things. In 2024-2025, he played 43 NHL games, put up 1 goal and 7 assists for 8 points. Split time between the NHL and the AHL in Rockford. When he was in the NHL, he averaged around 15 minutes, 8 seconds of ice time, mostly in the third pairing, but also stepped up when injuries forced reshuffling. So what does he bring to the table? He brings defensive reliability. Allen is not going to blow you away with his highlight reel offense. He's not the puck movement machine like some young defensemen, but what he does do well is positioning, gap control, reading plays, blocking shots, and just being physically present. He's got good mobility and versatility. He has decent skating, enough to be used both in lower leverage defensive pairings and occasionally being bumped up. But more importantly, he accepts the role he's given, whether that's shutdown minutes or being a stabilizer behind more aggressive D partners. He's also got dependability under pressure. When injuries hit last season, he was among the guys who filled in. Not perfect, not always flashy, but the kind of player coaches trust when things get messy. That gives him a leg up in a crowded D-core. So what's the role for him 25-26 season? Well, here's where Allen can make a meaningful push. Make the roster out of camp. He already did that last season. Expectations are that he'll at least compete. It wouldn't surprise me if Allen made the team out of training camp this year, right? Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. He's put forth the effort. He's already done it. Well, let's see him do it again. He needs to earn more consistent minutes. With some veterans possibly being moved or taking smaller roles, there's opportunity for Allen to establish himself as a regular third pairing defenseman, maybe even a second pairing at times, especially in matchups where defensive stability is needed. And 3, special teams and reliability. He's shown he could block shots, kill penalties, and do the small things well, which often don't show up in the flashy stats that matter. But these do matter. Hits, block shots, efficient NHL zone time. These are all things that really make a core quality player. If he can improve his defensive making on breakouts and holding the blue line under pressure, he becomes more than just a regular depth guy, someone on the bench. So what's the downside? His offensive upside is limited. Allen isn't going to be counted on for scoring. His points upside is pretty modest. He tends to opt for safe plays rather than jumping into the rush, and that's fine, but it limits how much how much value he adds on the offensive side of the zone. There's errors under pressure and decision speed. In transition, when he's tasked with making outlet passes under forechecking pressure, there are moments when the decision-making is slower or even risk-averse. In a system that will ask defensemen to move the puck well, that could be a liability. And then there's consistency and trust, right? Coaches have to trust him not to make mistakes when paired with more offensive defensemen or in higher leverage roles. He needs to limit turnovers, defensive zone breakdowns, and mental lapses. That's often what separates a role player from an impact player. So for this coming season, here's what we see 1 year from now if things go well. Allen finishes camp on the NHL roster. Woo! Let's see him do it. He rides the third pairing role, occasionally getting bumped up due to injury or matchup. He becomes a reliable defensive option, the sort of guy Blashill trusts in the defensive zone, starts getting penalty kill duty and preserving leads. His peripheral stats, the block shots, the hits, the defensive metrics, those show improvement, even if points stay modest. And he becomes a part of the depth core that anchors the blue line, providing stability to the more offensively minded D-men, naming like Levshinov, Renzel, Korchinski, and then he can take more risks without risking too much on the defensive breakdown. So he probably won't be a household name this year, but he could be one of the undervalued stories of the season if he plays up to expectations. So Hawks fans, keep your eyes on Nolan Allen this preseason and early season. Watch how he handles matchups, how he plays alongside both shutting down lines and more dynamic pairs, and how confident he is under the puck. These are the moments that will define his year. So let me know in the comments, do you think Allen can stick this whole entire season in the NHL full-time? What area do you want to see him improve the most? So looking forward to your comments there. As always, your comments are amazing and greatly appreciated. Moving on from there, let's talk a little bit about Davidson, right? So as training camp rolls, one of the biggest questions that everyone's asking is, what are KD's expectations this year? Not the wish list, but the real measurable expectations he's made public. Let's break them down. So number one, stepping forward is key. Davidson has made it clear this season is about growth. He recently said, quote, "We're watching for the continued development and growth of our young players. But now with that impact on the NHL roster, we believe that we will see a step forward this year, both in quality of play and hopefully in point total as well," end quote. In other words, he doesn't want just flashes or good practice performance. He expects youth stepping in, contributing in real NHL games. More consistent impact, more minutes taken, and more visible promise. Another thing, patience and excitement, the new mantra. So he's also emphasizing something a little more subtle but huge, patience, but not as a cop-out. Davidson saying, yes, we'll give young players time, but this time doesn't mean passivity. It means giving them real opportunities, real chances to earn roster spots and prove themselves. But he's also talking about excitement, players here now who are going to be a part of the long run. He said, now that we've seen this influx of young talent, there will be a patience factor with young players in the NHL, but there's also an excitement factor and a future impact that we should see throughout the season for some players that will be here for a very, very long time. So with patience, so patience with mistakes, excitement for growth. And also there's expectations for specific players and roster battles. Davidson has pointed out certain players by name which give us clues as to what he considers crucial. He called out Wyatt Kaiser. Davidson said he's going to be a big part of our team this year, and we're looking forward to him continuing to establish himself in the NHL and grow his game. He's talked up Spencer Knight. With his extension locked in, Davidson clearly expecting Knight to take on more. He's called him a part of a very big deal for us. We believe his potential to be a top flight starter. Just give him the runway. And then also Lukas Reichel, right? We've talked before about how this is like basically a make or break season for him. Davidson referenced that Reichel has some history here, ups and downs, but said Reichel has as good a shot as anyone of breaking camp with this team. He has to earn it, find that niche. And then also he talked about Kevin Korchinski. He's young, still developing. Davidson wants to see him take the steps from Rockford, make plays, build confidence, and be ready if the NHL is where he belongs. So this tells us there's a lot of competition. Veterans are not guaranteed spots if young players outperform them. Davidson wants meritocracy. Also, the definition of improvement, what to measure, right? What counts as taking a step forward by Davidson's standard? Well, it looks like better quality of play. That means fewer mental mistakes, more consistent game-to-game effort. It means back-checking, closing gaps, defensive details. It means more impact from young guys on the NHL roster, not just in prospects leagues. When these prospects are contributing reliably, not just occasionally. And yes, point totals matter. While the Blackhawks probably aren't going to be playoff contenders this year, Davidson explicitly said he hopes for improvement in point totals. So what should the fans look for? Well, here's a few signals to show if Davidson's expectations are being met. Who gets ice time early? Watch depth defensemen and young forwards. Are they getting shifts? Are veterans being pushed? How often do young players make impactful plays under pressure? Turnovers avoided, smart decisions, not just speed or physicality. Goaltending stability with Brossoit out long term with that hip surgery. How Spencer Knight and Arvid Soderblom perform matters a lot. Are point totals and win totals inching upward relative to last year? And also development trajectories. Is there visible growth through the season rather than peaks and drop-offs? So bottom line, Kyle Davidson isn't sugarcoating it. He wants visible proof that his rebuild is heading forward. He expects growth. He expects youth to step up. He expects results, not playoff results necessarily, but getting better game by game. He just wants to see that progression. So let me know in the comments, what is your biggest expectation for Davidson this season? Who do you think will be the first young player to surprise people? That's a good question for you guys. And I'm sure you're going to light up the comments with that. All right. Moving on from there, let's just take a step back for a second. I've talked about this before, about how awesome the old Chicago Stadium was. So let's get back into it, right? We're going to take a break from the current roster battles and contract talk and all this other stuff we've been trying to fill this very dry off season. But let's talk about something a little more historic and honestly a little sacred. Let's talk about the Chicago Stadium, the Blackhawks' original home. The building that set the tone for hockey in this city. The building that roared so loud, other teams felt it in their bones. So it was built to be iconic. The Chicago Stadium opened its doors on March 28th, 1929. Built by Hawks owner Frederick McLaughlin and sports promoter Patty Harmon, it was the largest indoor arena in the world at that time. 17,317 official seats, and that doesn't include standing room diehards who packed in elbow to elbow when it mattered most. This is more than just a building. It was a temple for hockey, for boxing, political rallies, even Bulls games before the United Center even existed. But for Blackhawks fans, it was our home. And on the boxing side, it was really cool because if you walked around with all that Art Deco carving in the cornices and everything around the stadium, you saw boxers. It was just a very cool place. It was also the loudest arena in the NHL, right? So let's talk about that sound. Chicago Stadium was infamous for its volume, especially the national anthem. We've covered this before. Organist Nancy Faust would hit the first notes and the place would explode. Fans didn't just sing, they roared. And the anthem tradition was so powerful, players from opposing teams would stop to soak it all in. Former Hawk Chris Chelios once said it was the only building in the NHL where your ears would ring after a goal. And the organ, that was the mighty Barton, a 3,663 pipe beast of an instrument, the largest theater organ ever installed in the stadium. The sound of that organ bouncing off the old brick and steel was like nothing else. And it was in the concrete, like they had when they poured the concrete on the mezzanine and all those other places, those pipes were in the concrete. So when those hit certain chords, that whole place shook. So there are some historic Blackhawk moments, of course. The Chicago Stadium saw the Blackhawks' first 3 Stanley Cups, 1934, 1938, and 1961. That's where Bobby Hull became the Golden Jet. It's where Stan Mikita carved up the ice and Tony Esposito came a wall in the net. And in 1971, it was the site of one of the most electric Stanley Cup finals in NHL history, Hawks versus Canadiens, Game 7. The Hawks fell short that night, but the buzz from that game is still talked about to this day. And there's also a grit factor, right? This place wasn't pristine. It wasn't gorgeous. Like, I remember coming into the UC after being in a Chicago Stadium. I'm like, the UC is like a mall. This is like beautiful, but it's not the stadium. It was gritty, it was loud, steep, and it was smoky, and it was absolutely perfect for hockey. The dressing rooms were cramped, the ice could be chippy, visiting teams hated playing here, and that's exactly why we liked it. The fans were right on top of you, there were no distraction, it was just hockey and passion. And the final Blackhawks game at the Chicago Stadium was on April 28th of 1994, a playoff loss to the Maple Leafs. The last anthem shook the rafters one more time. The team moved into the brand new United Center next door that fall, but the old barn never left our hearts. Chicago Stadium was torn down in 1995, and while the United Center gave us more space and amenities, and really beautiful, there's still something about the Madhouse on Madison that just can't be replicated. Now, if you're ever at the United Center, stop by the atrium. You'll find the old stadium's goal horn and the mighty Barton organ pipes still preserved there. Just a piece of what made that old building so legendary. So Chicago Stadium wasn't just a place, it was a vibe. It was loud, it was gritty, it built the foundation that this franchise still stands for today. So let me know your favorite stadium memory. Maybe you're there for the anthem or a playoff game or just heard the stories passed down. What was your experience there? Mine was, so many. It was so great. My very first hockey game I ever went to, I was not born in Chicago. I moved here right after college. But I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else. My very first hockey game was the first year the Sharks were around, and the Sharks were playing the Hawks at Chicago Stadium. I'd never been to a hockey game before. I was just blown away. Once you experience something like that place, it never leaves you. So it was pretty amazing. So let me know your guys' memories there. And last but not least, we're going to go through some really quick hot takes from you guys. We got Chicago Turntablism, a repeat offender. Great video. Thank you very much, sir. Lester 701, absolutely a repeat offender many times. He said, hey, PJ, enjoy the videos. Thank you. The season is here. Getting the fundamentals right, then moving forward is the way to go. I feel Coach Blashill is doing just that. Also, if for whatever reason a player cannot play, it's not working out, etc., for everyone's sake, gracefully move on from that player, cut the losses, eat the salary, etc. And then he's wishing everyone a great day and week. Oh, and also, he also says that waiting and time, he feels, often doesn't make things better. So in other words, let's get after it, folks. Chicago Blackhawks, I also believe a repeat offender, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think the development of the D is on Blashill. Those irons were in the fire before he arrived. Personally, I'd like to see a team more consistent. When they do the things right, do it consistently. I think that is what Blashill could bring, organized structure to the development, maximizing time spent training. Hopefully, this equates to no more lazy starts and or not showing up in the third. Very true, right? Kind of like what we're seeing with the Bears and Johnson, right? Be methodical. It's all about the process. You got to trust the process, and you just got to be methodical about it. One foot after another. You're absolutely right. Thank you very much, dear Shalaga. I'm down with that. Thank you for your input. N. Michaels 3097 says, should definitely at least credit Scott Powers if you're going to recite his article. Absolutely, you're right. Normally when I talk on these points, I try to mention the people, and I did not that time. So thank you very much, keeping me on track, keeping me on track. So I really appreciate that. That's Scott from The Athletic. I love The Athletic. They put out great stuff. So as we're digging around for things to talk about, yes, he wrote a great article, and I not stole it, but I used it. It was about Davidson yesterday. Not Davidson, but Dickinson yesterday is what we were talking about. So I learned a lot from that article, and there we go. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping me on task, Mr. N. Michaels. Ernie Easton, 7979, another repeat offender. He said it's a big ask, but this season the Hawks have to be more responsible with the puck. Very true. They can't finish dead last in puck possession 2 years in a row. Bedard needs to hit the 70-point mark and get his face-off win percentage over 40. Absolutely. I'd also like to see the Hawks improve their penalty kill. Yes, Ernest, I agree with all those things. Yes, those are some of the fundamentals we're talking about, right? Puck possession, doing face-offs well, handling penalty kills well, all just a part of making sure that every box is ticked towards victory. So thank you very much for that, sir. Oh, and then Yvonne Pierre, 2098, definitely repeat offender, because Yvonne always kind of says she's on a theme. Chicago Blackhawks will finish last place to get Gavin McKenna. Big deal. Your words to the universe's ears. Not finishing last, but maybe if we get like some kind of incredibly lucky draft pick or lottery pick, and then we still get Gavin McKenna. And we do much better than last season, well, that would be serendipity. That would be amazing. So that's a wrap for today, Blackhawks Nation. If you're new here, please remember to like and subscribe. If you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support and also for sharing about the channel. Really, thank you for getting the word out. For all my repeat offenders in the comment section, please keep them coming. Please, love building this community with you guys. It really is super great. Thank you for checking out the Blackhawks Daily Download every weekday as we celebrate this original 6 team, the best team in hockey. Records don't show it, but they are the best team in hockey. The best fans in all of sports, bar none, in the best freaking city in the world. I really appreciate it. I'm PJ, and I will see you next time on the Blackhawks Daily.